Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Pick Me Up. On this inaugural episode I have as a guest the one and only Charlie Francis, who is a great friend of mine and has produced everything I've done apart from the Hunter's Heart EP. The guy's been doing what he's been doing for many years and he's great at it and he's got a lot to say, so I hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think. My editing is a bit ropey, but let me know. Enjoy. Bye.
This whole thing is just to say sorry, I don't want to work with you anymore. It just took me a couple of hours to say it.
That's fine, it's mutual.
It was... Oh yeah, just carry on, don't bother saying thank you.
So when did we last play a gig together?
I think it was Shepherd's Bush, wasn't it?
I've got a horrible feeling it was.
That was over a year ago.
I know. Quite a lot more than a year ago.
It was a long, long time.
We finally saw sense and got a band that were closer to your own age and income bracket.
Somebody said that to me, they were like, oh, you know, I don't know, just aesthetically. I was like, what do you mean? What is this guy doing?
Road rage Bettridge,
Yeah.
It's the streets.
Coming out.
Look out,
Yeah,
road.
I was like, well, if the musicians are good, what's your problem? Well, even the police didn't say thank you. Look at that.
No.
What is wrong with people? I'd rather, if people don't say thank you, I'd rather you just flip the bird at me. Because that's basically what you're doing. Have the balls to just do it. I reckon there's like this running joke, people who run Chinese restaurants,
Oh yeah.
that they name them they change the spelling of the words, but with names that are really rude.
So phonetically, if it was spoken in Chinese, it'd be fuck you.
Exactly, yeah.
Fuck you and your cheesy order of special fried rice every Friday night.
Yeah.
Wow.
What the
Nice.
God?
Cardiff Considerate Drivers Club out in force
People
tonight.
in cars infuriate me. Oh! Did I ask you why you came down to London? When did you come down to London from up north?
A very long time ago.
How old were you?
I was 19 in 1979.
1970.
I know. Back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth.
That's why you call those
I
fossils in your house.
I moved to London because there was absolutely no chance whatsoever of doing anything with music living in York. And I was keen on having a career in music.
So what did you do when you came down? Did you know anybody in London?
I knew a friend of a friend that I'd met in York who said I could stay in his flat. Well, I had a girlfriend that I'd met who was at York University, so I first went and stayed in her parents' house over the Easter holidays, much to her father's disgust. And then I went and kipped on the floor of this guy who said I could stay in his flat. And eventually that drove his flatmate out, so I got his flatmate's room.
Oh, nice.
I was like a baby cuckoo, basically.
Just burrowing yourself in.
Yeah, and then, yeah, just stayed for a long, long, long time.
How long were you living in London for?
24 years.
24 years.
And,
That's how long I've been on holiday.
yeah. Bizarrely, the most bizarre thing that happened was, just before I left York, there was this guy known as the punk poet, Patrick Fitzgerald, and he played a gig in the university. And he'd had a single that was all over the NME called Safety Pin Stuck in My Heart. So we went along to see him, and for whatever reason afterwards, me and a couple of friends ended up in the dressing room. And being a very big-mouthed Yorkshireman, I said to him, if you ever want a bass player, I'm your man. Really just mucking about. And he said something along the lines of, I'm going to be putting a band together soon. But I didn't think anything of it. And then, just after I moved to London, or when I was still staying in my girlfriend's parents' house, we went to a gig at the Marquee to see John Cooper Clarke, who I know you love.
Yeah.
And so we're standing in the audience watching John Cooper Clarke, and this little guy comes up to me and goes, hello, Charlie. I looked down and it was Patrick Fitzgerald. Obviously I looked down because everyone's shorter than me. Anyway, except you. That's why we're great together, because we're the same height.
We just work.
Anyway, he said there's an advert in the Melody Maker tomorrow, which is what people used to do. They used to put a classified ad in the back of Melody Maker. That was how he found musicians. If you look on it, it says Eddie Grubb looking for a band. That's me. So I was like, okay. So I bought the Melody Maker the next day, and sure enough, there was this advert, and I phoned it up, and I went for an audition, and I got the gig.
No way.
So I got paid to play the bass, to go on tour and make a single. And we were supported by this amazing band from Liverpool that I'd never heard of, or nobody had really heard of, because they'd only just started, called The Teardrop Explodes, which probably doesn't mean anything to you, but a lot of people will know them. Julian Cope, who was the main guy, is still around making records.
The Teardrop Explodes.
Teardrop Explodes, yeah. They were amazing. I just used to watch them every night and think, this band are incredible. Yeah, you see, if there was any money in the music business, when you made your money, you'd come and buy a house here. Now there isn't. All you can do is drive down it.
Drive down and it's like a Welsh Pasadena. Look at all these trees. It's nice.
Oh dear.
Oh.
I don't think that went well for that starling.
Oh.
I think that might be an ex-starling.
Oh.
You murderer, you
I'm glad
bird
there's no
murderer.
camera on the outside of the car. Oh, the poor bird.
Well, all the doctors and lawyers live. All those people who studied hard and got an education and a proper job.
Or what?
Yeah, not like us music mavericks.
Us trailblazers, eh?
Outliers on the outer fringes of society.
Or broke.
Creating dreams for other people to enjoy. That's what we are. We're a very small dream factory. We're a bijou dream workshop, making bespoke dreams for
We should start a website.
an almost completely disinterested public.
Ooh, a tandem. I haven't seen one of them in a while.
I know.
And I'm not that excited actually to see it now because we're on a bloody bend. Marmite. Hate jams. Marmite.
Yeah.
My old neighbour in my old house he was proper into his cycling and he wore all the spandex and he had a pink Durex top.
Bloody hell.
I've never asked you this, but how did the whole Toya thing come about?
That was another advert in Melody Maker.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah. So that lasted for a few months, and like I say, we got to go on tour and make a single. But I think that basically, obviously, they were having to pay all the members of the band. They couldn't afford to keep doing it, so that came to an end. So I was at a loose end, and there was an advert in the back of Melody Maker. Phoned it up, went for an audition again at a place in Pimlico, which I was thinking about this the other day. Pimlico is a really strange part of London to have a rehearsal room in. It's kind of like, it's not far from sort of Buckingham Palace and all that bit of London. It's a kind of quite a posh bit by the river. But there was this rehearsal room there called Vanilla, I think. So I went to this rehearsal, to this audition, and they showed me a couple of quite complicated things to play that I had to learn on the spot and play with the band. And Steve, the drummer, bless him, who's still a friend, just went, he's the one, he's great, let's just have him. Because apparently at that point they'd auditioned 80 bass players.
Oh, God.
So yeah, I got that gig. And then
How old were you then?
I was
27?
I was probably still, I think I was probably still 19. It was probably...
Oh, so it was pretty shortly after moving to London.
Yeah, well, I got the gig with Patrick Fitzgerald's almost straight away, and that lasted the summer. So this would have been the autumn. It might have been probably round about my 20th birthday. And I did that for a year and then split just before my 21st birthday.
How come you split?
Oh, a whole host of reasons, really. I just thought... You could see that Toya was going to be massive. I mean, we would play to like 1,000 kids a night, you know. And this being the era of punk, there'd be a lot of spitting. So it was a very heavy night for spitting. I'd go and stand at the back by the drums and just
an
play with
outright.
Steve. Yeah, and watch Toya getting spat at.
Oh God.
She was amazing. She was such a trooper because it was deeply unpleasant. That was a fashion that nobody could wait to see the back of, really. Yeah, it was obvious that she was going to be extremely successful before very long. I mean, I joined. They'd made one album. I was on the second album. Then there was a live album that I was on, and then we went and did some sessions that I think ended up being an EP. And there was quite a lot of friction in the band anyway. There was a couple of the other guys really didn't get on. It was obviously going to be huge, and that if I continued doing it, I would forever be known as the bass player in Toya's band. And I had bigger ideas for myself than that. I just thought that there are other things I want to do in music, and I don't want to shut any doors to myself by being, and I don't want to be disrespectful to Toya, and she went on to be very successful. But I just knew that it wasn't for me for that to be the course, it would then have quite clearly become the biggest thing in my life, and that wasn't what I thought it should be.
You're only 19.
20 by this point, yeah, so yeah, I'd really grown up back then.
A year does a lot, man.
Yeah. So I quit, and then I had to kind of work out really what I wanted to do after that. And that took me a long time.
When did you start producing over, prioritize the production over the playing?
What happened was, I got my own band together, and we went through a number of incarnations, and eventually we got the huge record deal with the major record label, and had very powerful people managing us. And we made a very expensive album in New York, but they did the classic thing of everyone at the record company got changed by the parent company in America. And so when we came back from being in New York for a couple of months, all the personnel were different, and they weren't the people that had signed us. And it was obvious that, and in those situations you can see their dilemma. It's like they want to work on stuff that they found that they're really excited about, and not be handed something else that's like a project that's half realised but hasn't actually gone out there. And they didn't give up on us, but we definitely gave up on them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what year was this? Because I remember you saying it was in the studio that Graceland was being done in, right?
That was where we were mixing. That was really weird, yeah.
In New York?
Yeah, so we worked in a bunch of different studios in New York, which was a great experience. We worked in an amazing place called Right Track, another place called Unique. We worked in Electric Ladyland in Greenwich Village, which was amazing. The studio that allegedly was once Jimi Hendrix's flat, and where like the Stones had made albums and things. But then to mix, our producer Frank, who was a lovely guy, an American engineer producer, he wanted to do it in the Hit Factory, which was this incredible studio in West 57th Street, I think. Oh no, maybe it was 54th Street. Anyway, somewhere in that part of New York, near Times Square. And we'd been in big studios in London, and when you walked into a big studio in London, they'd have all the gold discs on the wall, and in London it'd be like Wham, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, those sort of things. You walked into the lobby of the Hit Factory and it was Stevie Wonder, John Lennon, the Rolling Stones. It was like, oh no, we've got to live up to this now.
Feels slightly out of your depth.
It's terrifying. And so we're in this incredible studio, but because New York studios were so expensive, and because the sort of American business ethos tends to be very, very efficient and about extracting the maximum amount of income, the studio worked 24 hours a day. So there'd be a day session, and then there'd be a night session. And Frank was determined to do the mix in this room, which was their mix room, and it would only be available at night. So that's what we did. We did 8 p.m. till 8 a.m. And during the day, someone else was mixing an album. And what you would do is you would have these strips of masking tape that you would put along the front of the mixing desk, and under each channel you'd write on what it was, like bass drum, vocal, whatever, tambourine, and so and then what you do is people would work on a mix, and then that strip would get taken off and put on the wall, and then you put another strip on, because you might go back to that mix because the desk was computerized, you could recall it. So we'd be working on our mixes at night, they'd be working on their mix in the day, and so there are all these strips on the wall with all the names of the songs on, and I'd look at these names, these songs, think, this guy's lost the plot. Who's going to listen to a song called Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes, or You Can Call Me Al? This is crazy. Yeah, he sold more records than
everybody
this.
on planet Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
My God.
That was quite funny.
Were you a Paul Simon fan?
There's quite a few of his songs that I like. Not from that. I like things like Mother and Child Reunion and Still Crazy After All These Years, the sort of earlier stuff. Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard.
And were you Simon and Garfunkel fan?
Not massively. I mean, I do actually think that they made some great records. I've just never spent a lot of time listening to them, and I don't know why. It was just... They are fantastic records. The thing that really gets me about Paul Simon that I thought was amazing when I found this out was the way he writes his songs. He does what a lot of people do. He has a guitar and he comes up with some chords that he likes, and then he sort of sings along, comes up with a melody where he's going la 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 la, and the melody will have vowel sounds in it. He'll like write a melody and he'll work it out so he's like gets all the vowel sounds that he wants, and then he goes away and writes the lyric after that fits those vowel sounds, which is hard enough to do. But when you end up with lyrics like his that sound like, basically his songs sound like the lyrics came first, so it just shows what an enormous amount of work that must be to actually end up with something that sounds like, so it's quite sort of literary and stands on its own, but he wrote it that way around.
After the fact, yeah.
That is a seriously committed artist.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Because unfortunately, usually when people do that, they end up with very simple, obvious rhymes, because, well, a lot of time people will settle for the first thing that comes to their mind because they're a bit lazy. But also, you know yourself, it has to be singable.
Yeah. And you know, as soon as you sing something, if it doesn't feel right, you know, you can't be squishing that into work. Do you know what I mean?
No.
I can't leave out R.E.M. How the hell did that happen? Well,
that was weird. That was really weird. So by '92, I'd kind of become the in-house engineer at this 24-track studio in West London that isn't there anymore, which basically meant work with everybody who comes through the door. You know, people just put the studio and you work with them. But I was actually really loving it. I would just spent every hour I could there, and people liked working with me because I was wildly enthusiastic, because I felt like I was a late developer and I was like just starting to get to do what I really wanted to do. So I would like really throw myself into everything that came in. And there was a band that came in and they had their own engineer with them, but the studio owner said to me, "Oh, can you like just be on the session anyway and make sure everything goes according to plan?" And I got paid the same, and it was like, "Yeah, sure." And anyway, bizarrely, I won't go into the whole story, but I ended up co-producing the session with the artist because we really, really hit it off. And subsequently went on to make 2 albums with the artist, and that was a band called the High Llamas. The main guy was a guy called Shauna Hagen. So we made these High Llamas albums that got massive critical acclaim. The first whole album that I worked on with them was a huge deal in Mojo magazine back in the days when that sort of print media meant an awful lot to people, and like it was how people gauged what to buy or listen to. And at the same time, I did quite a lot of work for Creation Records and whoever, really. I was doing more production work by this point, really, by the time we made that second High Llamas album called Hawaii that I was involved in.
and this was in London?
It's in London, yeah. So one day I was in my flat in West London and my phone rings, and it was my then manager, and he said, "Sit down." I said, "Sorry." He said, "Sit down." I was like, "If I must, all right, why?" And he said, "I've just got a fax from a
fax?
A fax? Well, it was a long time ago. 21 years ago. A fax from a lawyer in New York saying R.E.M. are interested in Charlie Francis engineering their next album." And once the usual, like, "You're winding me up, this can't possibly be true," we've gone through all that. It was true. So subsequently they flew me out to Athens, Georgia to meet them and spend a week they were working in their friend John Keane's studio. And then the following spring I went out to San Francisco for 2 or 3 months and was the recording engineer when they were making their album Up. Yeah, which was...
And what year was that?
I was 98. It was 20 years ago.
My God.
In fact, yeah, 20 years ago today probably I was
Really?
in San Francisco, yeah.
Happy R.E.M. anniversary.
Yeah. And obviously that was an incredible experience for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah. But on the bright side, sunny today.
It's sunny today and you've got an album coming out. What's not to like? Come on. Is the world ready?
The other day, you named my album.
That's, yeah.
You did technically name my album. I remember we were recording Old Man.
Yeah.
And it started sounding really great. We were really happy with it, and you were like, "This is a really great song." You said this. I think you said something like, "Oh, this has the potential to." He's like, "Oh, this might ruin you. You're asking for trouble with this one." And I remember sitting there, and I just went, "Oh my God, asking for trouble." Actually, oh my God, look what's down here that hasn't come out of the car.
Oh wow.
They're the mix CDs.
Incredible.
The first mixes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Axing for trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always the way. It's always, whenever I'm working with anyone, it's that song that suddenly feels like it has the potential to become very popular, that is the one that terrifies you the most. It's the one that feels like the hot potato. You're like going like this all the time. It's like, I don't know.
You don't want to mess it up, or?
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden every decision made about it suddenly starts to seem incredibly important, and like, what if you made the wrong decision?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a weird feeling.
I mean, obviously, since we started working together, probably 5 years ago, I want to say.
Don't.
Is that right?
It's 5 years since I met you. Yeah.
So 4 years ago since I released something that we done together.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much working with you alone. Like, obviously, when we started working together, it was one man and a guitar, wasn't it?
Certainly was.
Added these small elements, but I'm making the album. Like, I came out the other end of it wanting to go straight in and make another one. Yeah, and like, there were songs that I came in with that completely changed when we were in there, which is something that never really happened for me before. They always kind of stayed in the same vein of what they were written as.
Yeah.
Whereas things like...
Well, I remember from my own experience of being in bands when I was younger, that would happen, and at first it was really scary, because it is something that happens, and I think it's a good thing usually. You know, you explore the avenues and take a piece of music somewhere that hadn't been anticipated that everybody likes. But it is really scary if you've never done that before, because it does feel like you're letting go of something. I think when you've worked in music for long enough, you kind of go to the other extreme where the whole thing just becomes like putty in your hands, and you can actually mould anything into any shape you like. No, you've seen yourself when we brought in different drummers or whatever. You try a different drummer on a song, it's completely different.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we did different versions of a song with Dan or with Jack, the song completely feels different, and it makes you feel differently about it.
And that's something I've really learned to do, and it's really liberating feeling, being able to resign yourself to the fact that things are going to change, and that's a good thing, and it's fine to chop and change up these sounds and try different things. As soon as you've let go of that feeling of this is how I wrote the song, this is how I want it to be.
Yeah.
So many cool things happen. Like 17 Dream on the album, I think is probably one of my favourites, because it was just absolutely nothing that I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I met a girl with the first one we did, and we came in and played on the Chaos pad and did all the voice and things in the background. I think working with you is a huge thing, though, because you're very accommodating of the... Straight over?
Yeah.
Very accommodating of the artist and the song, in terms of you're there to service the song.
Absolutely.
As well, and make it come out the best that it can possibly come out. And that's really, really appreciated by the people, really appreciated by me anyway, the fact
You're the only one.
that, that you have there's no sense of, you know, oh God, like, come on, sort of, when I'm, oh Charlie, we try this, or we try this, and you pull out all the little toys and we play with them, and there's just that joy of, I wonder what happens when we do this. You say all the time, what happens if we do this? But,
well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I do know what you mean. Well, it's funny because, I mean, in many ways I'm more impatient than I let on. And you know that I can be impatient.
You just
But,
need to ignore it.
well, yeah, good for you. But I also know that if I'm impatient with somebody, I'm not going to get the best out of them. If I make them feel like they've got to hurry up because of my agenda, I know that they're immediately going to start looking at it the wrong way, and I have to, like, sometimes bite my tongue and allow them to, even if I think that they want to try something that I've done a million times before and I think it's a bit daft, I have to allow people to sort of explore a bit themselves and feel like they own it, because if they don't, you kind of lose, I think. I think you have to, like, the biggest goal for me is to make the people I feel I'm working with, make the people I'm working with feel like they own it, they're completely confident and comfortable with it, and I'm just helping them do it. And because it's about them, you know, it's like, so you have to serve the song and the singer because that's all you've got. What was I going to say? I was going to say something really fascinating.